You signed onto a letter with 9 other New York House Republicans calling for the president of Colombia to step down. Back in February, you also introduced legislation to strip federal funding from any colleges that blatantly allow anti-Semitism and strip student visas from foreign students who participate in these anti-Semitic protests. Tell us more.
Well, that's exactly right. I think we need to hold these institutions accountable. Certainly the taxpayers should not be funding them, nor should we be giving people the privilege of coming to the United States to study if they're going to participate in anti-Semitic activities. I'm hoping that we'll see the House take up a package of legislation that will include mine. But I think what's happening right now at Columbia is obviously it's escalated dramatically. But this has been going on for now months. It was about 5 months ago when this started, and we saw actual students being physically assaulted, verbally attacked, threatened their lives. Jewish students are not safe on this campus, and the fact that this president of the institution, President Shafik, cannot keep her students safe, and they have to go to remote learning for the rest of the semester is unacceptable. It shows that she cannot control her school, she cannot keep her students safe, and therefore she needs to resign.
Should parents demand they want their tuition back? I mean, if they paid for the whole year, now we know that it's going to be virtual.
They should be. They should be refunded their tuition. You don't pay tens of thousands of dollars in tuition, so that way you can learn on a computer. You're not getting the full experience that you paid for. But it also questions, what are they teaching these young people?
Yeah.
That is the other thing that we would like to know. So I think that it certainly is important that they take those steps to refund these students. And I would say this as well. Why should we, President Biden, why should we be paying for the student loans of anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas students? That is a good question for the president right now.
That is a great point that you raised, Congresswoman. I want to get your take on who's behind this. We just spoke with one of your colleagues, Carlos Jimenez. Do you think that the Chinese Communist Party is behind this?
I mean, it's very possible. We don't know who is behind it. I think that certainly it's agitators, whether it's George Soros or Communist China or Marxist anarchist organizations. I do believe that it is a coordinated effort. It's why the Ways and Means Committee, by the way, is also looking at 501c3s, foreign money that's being put in 501c3s, receiving a tax benefit from our government. We need to look at that because they oftentimes also have super PACs in which they are supporting candidates or working against particular candidates. So that's something that our committee is looking at right now. We're going to be probably dropping legislation in the next week or two.
Well, we'd like to know what you find out, because this is awfully similar to what happened after October 7th, where you had massive propaganda coming out of TikTok against Israel. And, some of the agitators, Communist China related. So we'll be watching that. But I want to get your take on why Mike Johnson is going to Columbia today. The Speaker of the House's office suggested in a statement that the Senate will not pass border security legislation this year. His office said in a statement, House Republicans have passed multiple border security bills, which have been ignored by the Democrat Senate, and proves their unseriousness when it comes to dealing with the border catastrophe. House Republicans understand that the only way to truly solve the problem is to elect President Trump in November. So, Congresswoman, I guess he's just he's throwing in the towel here. You haven't been able to be successful at the border, so forget it. We got to wait until Donald Trump is in the office, is what he's saying there. And instead, he's taking on this, and he's going to Columbia today to speak with Jewish students.
Yeah, I'll be joining the speaker today at Columbia because I think it is important that we show support for these students who have their lives threatened and they feel very uncomfortable on campus. And I think he wants to also send the message that the House will be passing legislation to hold these institutions accountable. As for the border, I'm just as disappointed as you are. I think that the Ukraine funding was the last leverage the House had to force Senator Schumer to take up border provisions and also force the president to reverse some of his 60 policies. And the reality is, Maria, that, we did pass a lot of legislation, many pieces with bipartisan support, and Senator Schumer won't take any of them. The president can do this on his own. He put in place these 60 policies. He should reverse. And the fact that we got to fight them every step of the way is frustrating. And at this point, because of the leverage that we gave away, I didn't vote for that bill, as you know, but I believe that it is true that we do need President Trump in there if we're going to make changes at this point, because the Democrats refuse to do anything about securing our own border.
So that's it, okay? So that's it. I mean, you pass this bill to send money to Ukraine, to send money to Israel, to send money to Gaza, which, by the way, a lot of senators have told me they think the money's going to go right to Hamas, okay? That money that's supposed to go to humanitarian efforts in Gaza. And you lose all your leverage at the border. So now we're supposed to wait 8 months to get security at the border until next year and a new president starting. I mean, what can happen in 8 months? Let me think about it.
Well, that's exactly the points that I brought up last week, and that's why I believe that the Ukraine funding should not have passed without border security. It's why I voted against it, because, like you, I believe that that was the leverage. Now, I think that, again, we're going to keep passing legislation, but if we don't have a partner in the Democratic Party over there in the Senate or in the White House, what are we supposed to do at this point? So
okay.
I agree that it was a mistake to give away that leverage without demanding border security provisions. That was the Speaker's decision. I disagreed with it, but we have to move on from that now and try to continue to pass whatever we can and continue to show that the Democrats won't do their job.
What are we supposed to do? Maybe just dig in, okay? No, not another dollar until the border is secured. Period. But look, I want to take you back to local issues here because I know you've focused on the congestion issues. A Siena College poll finds 63% of New York voters oppose New York City's congressional pricing program. Congresswoman Malliotakis, you're introducing a bipartisan legislation today to kill this congestion pricing, not congressional, congestion pricing. So if I'm in New York City and I live uptown in 60th or 70th Street, and I want to go down to the Village, I've got to pay money just to go from uptown to downtown?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. But this is, again, another policy brought to us by the Democrats who are in charge. They love it. They passed it overwhelmingly in the state legislature, slamming people that live in my district, Staten Island and Brooklyn. They're going to have to pay another toll to go into a borough in the city in which they live.
Unbelievable.
It is ridiculous. We have a number of lawsuits. As you know, Staten Island elected officials are suing, and then also we're supporting New Jersey's lawsuit as well. Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey, and I have been fighting this, looking at every legislative and legal tool that we have to stop it. But again, if the Democrats in New York just actually listen to New Yorkers who are saying they don't want this, it would not be happening right now. So we're going to continue to fight it. And I think the lawsuit has a lot of merit, and we can win that lawsuit because they violated federal law by not doing a full and thorough economic and environmental impact study.
Maybe, but they need the money. They have to pay for stuff for the migrants. They need the money, Congressman. You know that.
That's right. It's misplaced priorities by our governor, who's spending, by the way, another $2 billion to house migrants. So all three of these issues, from the migrant crisis to the border and to congestion pricing, all of it brought to us by the Democrats at the city, state, and federal level. People should remember that in November.
And the biggest issue of all, leadership. Leadership and policy matters. Congressman, thank you.